Hi, I'm Molly, a licensed insolvency practitioner at Parker Walsh, and I'm going to be looking at bounce back loan fraud. So in 2020, when the world stopped and there was lockdown and because of COVID, the UK government offered various schemes, and one of them was bounce back loans. So these were easily available to companies because they had to be, and they were there to help businesses during these times. Now, there are various horror stories regarding bounce back loan fraud, such as people having a dormant company for years and then obtaining a bounce back loan, pretending that they were a trading company, or even I've heard stories of people selling their limited company on eBay, and someone buys it and then applies for the bounce back loan and then scarpers. So these are all just, horrific types of bounce back loan fraud. But what I wanted to concentrate on is, in a liquidation scenario, how are bounce back loans treated? So when someone comes to me for initial advice, they're insolvent, which means that you cannot pay your debts as and when they fall due, and the companies say entering into creditors' voluntary liquidation. The bounce back loan will be written off during that procedure, but I will be checking when you come to me for the initial advice how that bounce back loan was dealt with. So I'll be asking the directors two questions to make sure that everything was done correctly with the bounce back loans and that there was no fraud. So the first question is, was it obtained correctly? And the second question is, was it utilised correctly? So in regards to it being obtained, it was based off your level of turnover for 2019, and you would receive 25% of whatever your turnover was for 2019, and the bounce back loans were capped at £50,000. So if you owed if your turnover was £200,000 or more, you would get the maximum, which was £50,000. So it's 25% off your 2019 turnover. So did you obtain the corrected amount? And it's quite simple. We would look at what the initial bounce back loan was, because obviously I assume, given the time that's passed, you've made some payments towards it. So we'd look at the initial amount that you received, and then obviously work out what your turnover for 2019 should have been, and then we can verify it against the accounts. So just to make sure that you obtained it correctly. And the second question I'll be asking is, did you utilise it correctly? And that basically means, did you spend it on what you were supposed to? Business expenses. So these bounce back loans were there to help businesses. They were not there for the director to take as a loan and go and spend it on themselves personally. So what did you spend it on when you got the bounce back loan? So most directors commonly say, oh, I had wages to pay for the employees, or I had to pay the landlord for rent, or I had to pay for supplies. And those are all legitimate business expenses, as well as possibly marketing. So I know companies, obviously the turnover had dropped because of the lockdowns, and they wanted to maximise when the UK reopened, as it were. So they invested in marketing, and that's all business expenses, and that's what it was there for. Unfortunately, some people took the bounce back loan and spent it on themselves. They may have gone on holiday, new kitchen, new car, extension. It wasn't there to do that, and that is misuse of the bounce back loans. So those are the two points that we discuss with directors: is, was it obtained correctly, and did you spend it on what you were supposed to? If not, you may have committed bounce back loan fraud, and there will be ramifications for that. But most of the directors I've spoken to, they might be worried, but when we drill into it, it's absolutely fine. It's just that initial panic, because obviously the application that the director made years ago now, they can't remember exactly what they put on the form, and I completely get that. If you are a little bit panicky and you sat there thinking, I can't remember what I put on the form. I'm sure I did it correctly, but now I can't remember. Just ask the bank for a copy of the loan, or you may have saved it in your company records. Just have a look and then just get your 2019 accounts and make sure that it was 25% of your 2019 turnover. And then in regards to what you spent it on, if you're worried about that, but you should know what you got it for, because receiving, if you got the maximum £50,000, you will recall what you spent it on. But yet wages, creditors, rent, utilities, that's all fine. If you took it out, went on holiday, as I said, or you bought yourself a brand new car, you shouldn't have done that. And if you are concerned, if you do think that actually I've not dealt with the bounce back loan correctly, the worst thing you can do is put your head in the sand and not address the issue. Get in touch with someone like myself and we can run through it, and we'll run through the ramifications of what will happen because you didn't obtain it correctly, and you didn't spend it correctly, and we can just run through that and put a strategy in place to remedy those 2 points. But I hope that's helped and explained it. Any questions, just get in touch. Okay, thank you.